Hello, everyone. If you are here, and we're just gonna have a few more minutes while people get in here, and then we'll get started. But I'm excited. We're gonna be going through all the characters and revealing some details about the drop. So I'm real stoked to talk through this. We're finally through all of the hero reveals, and now we get to the good part. We announced the mint date. If you didn't see that, go check out the Twitter. But I'm excited to kind of recap. We've got Santi here, who's going to be talking all
Hey
about what
guys,
went into the background of the drop, and I think of the art in the drop. But I think we're going to have a really good show for you guys, and we are going to reveal some details that haven't been revealed yet about the mint. So stay tuned. We'll just wait for a few more people to join, and then we'll get started. We'll just give it another couple minutes, and then we'll get going for all the people. I know a bunch of people are going to be watching the recorded version probably, so we won't wait too long. But give it another minute or two, and then we'll get going. And regarding questions, if you want, so while we're kind of presenting on the collection, you can drop questions, and then we can jump back and go. But at the end, we will try to answer whatever questions we can. There's certain things that we're just not going to be able to reveal yet, just because there's still a couple moving pieces on when certain things are going to happen. But we'll let you know that at the end if there's any questions that you have. But feel free to ask any questions, and we'll do our best to answer any questions about anything you guys might be wondering. We'll just start in one more minute. All right. I think we can get started, guys. So today we're going to be doing two things. We're going to start by recapping the 8-Mo army. We for the last 5 weeks we've been doing hero reveals of each of the heroes of the 8-Mo army. So we're going to give you a little bit more context, go through all those hero reveals, and then we're going to have Santi here presenting on basically all the different things that went into the creation of the art. And so each hero had different artists working together on it. They each kind of have their own flair. And so Santi is going to jump in on each one and just give you guys a little bit more insight about all the work that goes on behind the scenes to kind of create the cool, heroes and these promo videos, and how it's all being done in Unreal Engine. And it's kind of going to be a sneak peek into what we're building with the game, because a lot of this stuff that you're seeing in Unreal and the level of, the quality that you're seeing, that's what we're aiming for with the game as well, and which is also being built in Unreal Engine. So, Santi can jump into a little bit of, Unreal as a tool, how we're working in Unreal to create all these assets, and then we will tie that back to the 8-Mo Army collection. For those of you who didn't see, we did announce the mint date is going to be on August 22nd. That's when it'll start. And at the end of this, I'll go through more details on the mint, just so that you can all understand the format, because the format's a little bit unique. The way we're doing it, we think it's a really novel format that will, encourage that meets the market conditions perfectly. So we'll explain the format a little bit, when people will be able to mint, and hopefully answer any questions that you guys have. But yeah, let's let's get started. Let's watch our trailer for the 8 Mil Army collection.
Okay, Nick.
All right, so we've got the trailer. So you all saw the trailer. That trailer previewed the 5 different heroes of the 8 Mil Army collection. You're going to now we'll go through them one by one and talk a little bit more about each one. So the first hero is going to be our Lynx, whose hero's name is Kara. All right, so you just saw the trailer for our first hero, Kara. So a little bit of background. One thing with that trailer, we wanted to show you guys a little bit about what the gameplay would look like, and so I'll let Santi jump in on that a little bit more. But the goal with that was to kind of kill two birds, right? To show you guys Kara in an awesome form and reveal the hero, but also to give you an early look of how what we're doing in the game is translating to how what we're doing with this collection will translate into the game. And so you saw a little bit of that. I think that, Kara is interesting. The name Kara actually comes from Caracol, which is the African name for lynx. And so the character is called the Lynx, and her name is Kara for that reason. In the next probably 3 weeks, we'll be revealing all the lore for the backstory of the different heroes. So I won't spoil too much about the lore itself, but Kara's kind of key features is that she's super fast, super agile, and kind of has those cat-like instincts. And so she's this combination of a woman with a feline, and kind of takes all the best qualities of both with it.
Yeah.
And so now we'll
Something
jump in.
cool that you can see here. These were the concept art drawings, and something cool that you can see here, which is like a hidden like secret, is that at the beginning Kara was a tiger, but through the creation of and while we started creating the character, we understood that maybe some of the characteristics of her personality were better recreated by a lynx. So it mutated from one feline into another. Go ahead, Josh. So yeah, um, as you just saw, something cool about Kara is this idea of how we created everything. She was the first pirate version that we created, so the first character that we created, and the entire idea behind her was to understand the entirety and the style of the entire collection. So when we were creating her, we were just understanding the this dichotomy that we had to have between future and past because they are futuristic pirates, and so because they are Abe Moss crew, and so it was pretty interesting to have the dialogue between the two. Another cool thing that you saw in the video, another behind the scene secret, is that we had to create a ton of iterations. So in the video that you just saw, there was like a version of Kara that had like a smaller head and a smaller like proportions. But this goes to show you that we had to create these characters over and over until we were certain and happy with the final product. So this is basically I don't know. I want to congratulate the team because you can see here how the process behind the characters. Each character has been done by hand. Everything has been sculpted from the ground up, and I think that's some of the coolest things that differentiate our project from others within this space because we do think that art comes first, and we want to create everything from scratch, and we want to make this world our own, and that starts from creating everything from scratch, and this is like, yeah, hats off to the team itself because you can see the amount of work that each character has. What else can I say about Kara? Um, we also wanted to make sure that Kara had these kick-ass attitude, even though she's like sexy and a female. We wanted to make sure that she looked fierceful and strong, and so this tension between the two concepts is probably the secret behind Kara and the coolest thing about Kara as well. So
Awesome. And yeah, really, I mean, from my perspective, I'm not the artist here, but whenever I see this stuff, I get excited because I'm kind of blown away by what the team is doing. So for me, hats off to the team. They've been, sometimes they don't get to see all of the nice things you guys say in Discord. So it's always nice to be able to let them know what a great job they're doing. But they've been working really hard on this collection. We've been at it for the last 3 months, and so we're excited to kind of show you the rest and move forward. I can't wait to start revealing what these actual NFTs are going to look like because they look awesome. All right, so the next hero is probably my favorite. I like them all. I'm actually probably torn between a couple, but Mav is our wolf, and Mav is your typical Maverick, right? He beats to his own drum. He's the kind of leader of the pack. But we'll show you the video and then we'll talk a little bit more about Mav. Right. So what we were saying about Mav. Mav is kind of this interesting character, right? Because you'll learn more in the lore about how him and 8mo come to be connected, and all the characters kind of have a unique story to how they end up with 8mo, and joining the 8mo army. But Mav is a former U.S. Navy captain, and I won't say too much more than that. And that's probably where the similarities to the real life, I guess, Maverick from the movies stop. I guess like that Maverick, Mav is also handsome and good with the ladies, but He kind of has this friction with 8Mo, even though they really love each other, because they're both kind of that A-type personality, leader of the gang. Nav doesn't like to be told what to do. He's used to kind of leading the pack. So that as the story develops, I think there'll be some interesting fights with Mav and 8Mo, kind of over who's the boss. But I think our goal with Mav was to do this really cool wolf character and kind of represent this strong but agile male hero. And Santi can give you a little bit more about when it went into the art on Mav.
So Josh, I don't know if you want to play the video. So yeah, let's start talking about Mav. So something cool about Mav. I think the coolest thing about Mav is, like Nick was saying, creating this semi-lead male character that has this type A personality, and just figuring out how we could create a balance between creating another lead character without actually him becoming too overwhelmingly important that he displays 8Mo. So this balance was the important thing about, while creating Mav. Another thing that we wanted to make sure that Mav has within this character is this entire idea of basically what things can we take from Tom Cruise's Mav and introduce it into this character. And of course, other than his handsomeness and this idea of him being like a super cool alpha guy, there's not a ton of other things that we did. But I think the cool thing about Mav also, and the difficult part about Mav, was understanding how we could, I don't know, wolves are hard basically, and making them feel like human at the same time was a pretty difficult thing to do artistically wise, and basically making sure that he was handsome but at the same time a wolf, because normally when we think about werewolves, we think about these scary sort of creatures and monsters, and so creating this version of a werewolf that was actually handsome and cool was definitely something difficult. But I think the result talks for itself, and we were able to balance that identity within the character, and impregnate the character with that. What else can I say about Mav? About his clothing, we wanted to make sure that it felt old-fashioned, but at the same time that it had details that sort of show the time period. So for instance, we have buttons that have missives, and they are basically shiny and cool, but at the same time we have like this leather and this clothing strap that goes around the waist, and so that balance between being a pirate and something futuristic is, you can see it in the entire collection, but is something that we also struggled with this character. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Senti. I guess the next character we'll talk about is Freya, who is, I think, special in the collection. She in the lore, she's probably the kind of the badass of the group. She's, you know, the strongest, you know, strength wise. She's the only one who kind of can rival 8Mo in just like pure brute strength, and she actually meets him in a challenge of strength, and so that's something you will all learn a little bit more about when we release the lore. But Freya is this hot-headed, strong personality, who really, I think, you know, exemplifies both power and femininity. And that was, I think, and Senti can talk a little bit more about that on the art side, but that was the goal with Freya, to show this contrast of strength and power and size, but also exuding femininity. She's kind of the fashionista of the group, and there's actually a little Easter egg about the collection, in her in her outfit, which you guys will learn more about as we get closer. But her outfit is a particular brand that will be special in the collection when we release the avatar. So keep an eye out for that brand when you're revealing your 8Mo Army avatars. But let's jump into the video, and then Senti will go into more about the art. All right, Senti, tell us about Freya and everything that went into the art of the bear.
Sure. I think something super important with Freya is what Nick was just saying. So it's all about balance again, and but this one more than any other. So this is one of the coolest characters just because she has this tension between femininity, what we usually as a society think of femininity, and masculinity. So she's strong and she's like super independent, and she has like all these basically she's the strongest, one of the strongest characters of the collection. uh, but at the same time she loves fashion, and she loves like all this feminine side. So she, throughout her life, not spoiling anything, she has struggled with these two versions of herself, and she has this like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing going on with her femininity. And I think she's so interesting because she has, basically we're seeing a character that has been able to balance the two acts, and these two identities that she has. Like Nick was saying, a cool detail that she has is her clothing. I'm not going to spoil anything there, but if you want to check it out and go through the details and actually try to see what's going on with her jacket specifically, go ahead and try it out, and maybe comment in our Twitter or something what you think that we're going to introduce. But yeah, I think she's a super cool character because of that. I think probably one of the coolest, just because of her personality alone. From our inspiration, we actually researched a ton of female fighters, because they are basically the representation of this dichotomy in femininity, right? And or we of course there's a ton of examples of that, but we wanted to make sure that she wasn't, because she's a bear as well. We didn't want her to have like a conventional body type, and we also were playing around with this idea of, okay, of course she's bigger, but at the same time, she has to be. She loves the way she looks and her appearance and everything. So we had to sort of have all these troublesome and different ideas within a same character. So it was definitely a struggle, but I think because of that, she's also pretty cool. Another cool thing about her is she has like a little radar in her hip. So uh, I think that's just a representation of the amount of details that I think we're going to showcase in a couple of weeks of that the heroes have. And uh, if you haven't seen the videos in our Twitter, make sure that you go and pause basically every frame, because the coolest thing about these pieces is that every single part of the characters is full of details. Just to give you a behind the scenes thing again, over let me see, over 13 artists worked on this alone. So every single piece of each character has tons and tons of depth, and we wanted to make sure that um, the characters were basically a, a AAA asset that we can continue using within the game, and that you guys can enjoy. So yeah, that's it. We want to continue to the next character. Oh, actually, we're
So for any of you Game of Thrones fans out there, Freya kind of gives me these Brienne of Tarth vibes. If
yeah, for
she
sure.
actually cared, what people thought, and about her clothing, and if she was a little more fashionable, I think Freya would be our Brienne of Tarth. But similar, wants to fit in with the boys, wants to be the best soldier on the field, wants to get that knight spot. But always kind of having people underestimate her. But once she kind of takes that form of the bear, she's pretty much unstoppable. She's
Yeah, for sure. Brianna, you hit it right in the spot. I think Brianna of Tarth was one of our biggest inspirations, and actually within Game of Thrones itself, she always has like the cool armor as well, and it's super shiny always. So I think she also has this struggle with her femininity, because I know that she also has this entire side to her that is pretty cool, and that they also develop within Game of Thrones. So yeah, for sure, she Brienne of Tarth was part of the characters that we really looked at when we were developing her. Another cool thing that you guys have been seeing throughout this entire thing is ZBrush. ZBrush is a program that we use to sculpt every single thing. So every time that you see those time lapse of the characters, is basically that program, and it's super interesting because basically you start with a piece of block of like if it was like clay, like a clay block, and basically you start just like with any other clay, you start basically taking pieces apart of it and sort of molding it, and that's how all these characters start, basically from a sphere. So that's also something cool. Of course, we don't show the entire process because it took days and days and days, but so you guys know, that's what you're seeing there.
awesome, awesome. And I've seen a couple questions. We'll kind of stack those up and get them at the end. Some good ones in there. So now we will introduce another walking contradiction, our bull character, whose name is Simone. So Simone looks like he'd tear you in half, but the interesting thing about Simone is that he's the gentle giant of the group. He's this hyper technical, nice guy who really only fights if he has to. And our when we were thinking about this character, we wanted to make him super strong and he but come from this background of tech and intelligence, and so he is the gentle giant. I think one of the characters that inspired this character was from a movie that I'm a huge fan of, Drax the Destroyer in Guardians of the Galaxy, or basically any character that Bautista's ever played. I think he plays the same character in every movie. But kind of this giant lumbering, guy who has all the strength in the world but doesn't ever want to use it. But when it comes to protecting 8-Mo and his family, that's when he really, can get riled up and watch out if he does, because that's it's a lot of muscle on that character. And Santi will give you a little more insight into what went into developing this character, because his body profile is a little different than our other characters.
Josh, I don't know if you want to continue. Can you stop it there? Oh, okay. Before it goes to the next slide, but okay. So, yeah, like Nick was saying, the coolest thing about Simon again is like all the characters. Basically, we're playing with this complexity of human character, right? So, even though he is big and we also wanted to make sure that he looked like soft in certain things. So we actually, other than Drax the Destroyer, we also based it in a person within the office, which is Miguel. Miguel is, for those who know him, he's basically our main tech guy in the company. He's the coolest programmer and he's super intelligent, and he comes from this background, but at the same time he's like this gentle giant. He loves to go to the gym, and so he's huge, but at the same time he's like the sweetest guy that you can meet. So he was also part of the inspiration behind this character. The name Simon itself, because Simon is Latino. I don't want to again say too much about him, but he's Latino, and so Simon, we wanted to make sure, because all the team is Colombian, we wanted to make sure that the name symbolized something that was important for us. So we used the name Simon from Simon Bolivar, which was like the liberator from South America, right? He's this revolutionary guy that basically uh, uh, fought against the Spanish colony, and so we wanted to make sure that we played around with that. Um, Another cool thing about, or difficult thing about Simon, like Nick was saying, is that he has an entirely different body type, and so because we want to make sure that all of our characters are based and on the Unreal Mannequin, so it's compatible with future projects that also use the same uh, mannequin. I think it's going to become a standard within the industry. It already is, but it's going to become even more so. Um, we wanted to make sure that even though he's big and huge, he also maintained some of the technical things that the Unreal Skeleton has. And so we had a ton of technical difficulties with him, but we managed to create a character that is huge and have different proportions than the rest of the characters, but that maintains everything that makes the Unreal mannequin compatible with anything that comes for the future. So yeah, all these characters we wanted to make sure that they are compatible and uh, with everything, anything that might come in the future. I think interoperability is, just like in the past, is one of the main goals with this collection. So it's super important to keep in mind that, uh, because that also means that in the future you might be able to use these avatars within other metaverses or projects, and so that's super important to us, and we stay true to that principle within this collection. Um, yep, I don't know if you want to add something to that, Nick.
No, I think that that sums it up perfectly. I think the goal here is to be doing everything in a way that it will persist for years to come, right? As we develop out this world, your avatars that you get, the Legionnaires, the new 8 Army avatars, these are going to be something that we want you to be proud of using in 3, 5, 10 years. We want them to be high enough quality that they're future proof, that they're rigged in a way that they can be used, in the new programs that are coming out. And we've kind of always got our ear to the wall on that one, learning what the newest tech is and how it's being utilized within the industry. And so, I think there was a quick question about how much of this will actually translate to the game. And I think with the Kara video, you kind of saw, a lot of these, because we're building in Unreal, almost everything you're seeing is going to translate directly to the game. Now it'll be different scenes, right? That the game is being developed in a particular type of environment, but the quality that we're putting forth in these videos is really, based on there'll probably be some adjustments based on system settings and whatnot. But we're building a high fidelity game. The game is taking advantage of all the latest in Unreal Engine 5. It's going to be something that when you play it, it feels like the type of game, at least looks wise, aesthetically. It feels like the type of game that you're used to playing on
Yeah,
consoles.
for sure. Just like Nick was saying, we are making sure that we use the latest technology within Unreal Engine 5. I know that there's a lot of hype behind Unreal 5, and it's basically because they've managed to make sure that you can create high fidelity assets that are uh, sustainable for a frame rate theme. So basically, we can create high fidelity objects and characters that have a ton of polygons and that are super heavy, that normally wouldn't work for other games. But now with all the technology that Unreal has been developing with Nanite and with a bunch of stuff, if you're interested if anyone is interested in this, we can either further discuss this stuff or in another talk, or you should uh, research this, because Nanite is this amazing technology that helps an engine like Unreal have tons and tons of polygons within a single scene in a way that it wasn't possible before. So Unreal Engine, the actual version, the actual like usable version was released at the beginning of this year, and since actually before that we started playing with the early access version, and that's where we started actually creating the game. So from the ground up, it has been thinking ahead on Unreal 5. So even the Legionnaires were created for Unreal 5 in mind, and so we want to make sure that whatever we create has the latest technology, so it can last the longest time that we can.
All right, so our last character is our ape, and he, if you read the latest section of the lore, you'll see the introduction of that character as Captain Zhao, and so there's a little bit of mystery behind how Zhao goes from being a human pirate taking 8Mo under his wing. And I won't spoil any more of the current lore if you guys haven't read it. If you haven't, go check out the lore and learn about Captain Zhao. But after we play this video, I'll tell you a little bit more about what it went into Zhao and the story behind him. All right, so Captain Zhao. So in section part 11 of the lore, which we just posted a couple days ago, you can go and read it on the website if you want. Zhao is the pirate captain who leads the band of pirates that rescues 8Mo. And so I won't spoil the story if you haven't read it, but when 8Mo's in his moment of despair, it's Zhao who takes him on and brings him onto the crew, and then he eventually gets real close with the crew and becomes Captain 8Mo over time. But at the time, Zhao is a human pirate, and so one of the big connecting the dots in our story is going to go from how these characters take their animal form, and there's a few lore sections to go that will start to tie this all together and help make sense of why we're going to have animals running around with Satoshi and the Legionnaires fighting the defenders of Fiat. But I'm excited for you all to read that and see how that plays out. Zhao is the oldest of the characters. So we and Santi will talk a little bit more about what went into that, but you'll notice that he's got in the hero version, you'll notice that he's got a kind of like a bionic peg leg, and it's a really interesting story that I'll let Santi tell on what inspired that, and how Zhao being a pirate captain, we wanted to represent that as this new age pirate captain while maintaining some of the old. So Santi, if you want to jump in and talk about what
Sure.
went into that process.
So we wanted to create again this tension between future and past, and so the biggest thing with Zhao was exactly this time theme, right? How he's old, but he has to be strong because he's like the representation of strength within the boat. He's like the anchor to the crew, and so we had to maintain that tension there. But at the same time, his look also comes from a traditional space, so he has this leg that sort of assimilates the ones from the traditional pirate comic sort of look that normally they have this wooden leg, right? So because we didn't want him to feel like weak or actually really old, we wanted to make sure that instead of in the future prostheses and this stuff wouldn't be like an impediment. They would be actually something that enhances the character. And so we created this futuristic back leg that basically makes him stronger itself. So yeah, for sure, that was something that we played around thematically with him. This idea of old and new, and we also based. So the Chinese have a ton of background within piracy as well, and because this character comes from China and has a Chinese background, we wanted to make sure that we stayed true to certain characteristics within that culture. So we made sure that for instance his hat comes from a Chinese pirate called Qing Xin. She's basically like this. She's a female pirate that came from a that became a captain after being like a prostitute for a ton of years, and she has like this super interesting story behind her. But what we took from her was, for instance, the hat, and so yeah, for sure, we wanted to maintain true to certain characteristics from the past, like the pegged leg, without it being feeling too old, and also giving a little wink to the past with the hat as well, but also maintaining this idea of him being strong and futuristic. So yeah, again, like everything within this collection, we're playing with the struggle of being a human, these dichotomies, right? So yeah, another cool thing about him is that you can see within his face and within his fur itself that he's old. So we also had to make sure that the skin looked rugged, and he has actually one eye that has been damaged in battle, and he has like a scar, and he has all these little characteristics that uh, makes you feel that he has suffered through life, but that he's also very wise because of that. So for sure, he's like a fine wine. He has become better with time, and I think that's the coolest thing about this character. I'm not sure if he's my favorite, but he's up there for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So we'll show you kind of what went into the behind the scenes on the ape, and then we'll get into the good stuff about the collection. All right. So Dogecoin had a good question about how the legions will work, and so for this new collection, and so it's interesting because as the story's evolving, the legions, and again, I don't want to spoil. We've got it written pretty far, but it's going to be released at different points as we move into different phases of the project. But the legions are more of a place of origin. And so for these particular avatars, they have a very different origin story than the legionnaires. And so they won't have a legion per se as a place of origin, but they will have, I guess, something connecting them. And what, I mean, we can just say that the avatars are derived from each hero. And so as we start revealing what these things are actually going to look like, and I'm stoked because they look super cool. But you'll see that they're not exactly like the heroes, but they're derived from the heroes. And so there will be a bear, a lynx, a bull, a wolf, and an ape that will be available as avatars within the collection. And then, all the generative properties will stem from, the different characters. And, different characters will obviously look different and have different clothing and have different expressions. And, they will have different fur patterns. And so we're going to be revealing some of the accessories. Actually, I think we teased a few of them today, but over the coming weeks, we're going to show you some of the variety that will occur in this collection. I'm excited. I think that for those of you who liked the style of the Legionnaire and kind of that high fidelity, very real feeling Avatar look, that this is that. I think we learned a lot from the Legionnaire collection too. So we've been able to do kind of a really cool job of making these animal characters feel very real, which I think is going to distinguish them from, kind of the tons of other animal collections out there. I think, what we want to show is not just another animal PFP. We want something that feels like your avatar, that you feel proud, with it in the metaverse, with it in our game. And I think that's the goal here. So that's revealing a little alpha there, but over the next couple of weeks, you'll see what I mean when we start revealing the actual videos of the, and I did say videos, we're going to have animation again for these. So I leaked a little bit more, but anyways, so I'm going to take these last, part of, unless anyone has any questions on the art or on the specifics of how we created the heroes. I want to talk a little bit about the collection itself, the mint date, just how things are going to go down, and how everybody can get involved who wants to, and some things that you should make sure you do. And so we announced, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, that we're going to be minting the collection starting on August 22nd. And so we're going to pick a time, hopefully that encompasses the most broad range as possible. But we're setting up the collection minting in a way that, you can come in. Basically, what will happen, I'll try to just go through it. On August 22nd, for the first hour of the mint, so that for a 1 hour period, people who are on the ape list and on the crewman's list will be able to mint their avatars during that period. So that'll essentially start the drop. Will be this period where the allow listed people who are on the ape list and the crewman's list will be able to mint. That mint will be, at the discount, whether it's 50% off or 20% off, depending on which list you're on. You'll be able to be on multiple lists. So if you were one an ape list, but then you were also on the crewman's list, you can get in that way, and you'll actually be able to get more avatars. We're going to be capping that period, like the ape list and the crewman's list period, at 2 per account. So you won't be able to mint more than 2. The goal there is that we don't want to have a ton of people hoarding these things, especially early on. So that'll be the start, right? There'll be an hour portion where we start the drop. That's what happens. After an hour, you'll still be able to mint if you're on the ape list or the crewman's list, but then that's when we're going to open it up to our public allowed list. And so one thing we really wanted to do was weed out some of like the bots and everyone that jumps into a collection but doesn't actually mints. They mint a bunch and then they just dump them, and we've seen some of that. We want people who are actually taking the time and want to learn about the collection. So we put up pretty heavy restrictions, at least to some extent, on getting onto the public allow list, so that we can kind of make sure that the people who have the first opportunity to mint are the people who are really interested in the project. So if you look at pre-mint, if you go to the public allow list, right now it's open to anyone, but in order to be in it, you have to have 0.1 ETH in your wallet. You have to go and you have to be a follower on Twitter, and you also have to be in the Discord server, which allows us not just to make sure that these are real people who are engaged, it also allows us to engage with you and make sure that if there's an issue, we can reach out to you, or you can reach out to us, that there's methods of communication, that you're getting our updates. And so that's what we really want going forward. Our goal isn't necessarily to sell as many of these as possible. It's really to sell or have people mint them who are going to be in our community long term. And so that was the idea behind that part of the drop. But so essentially what will happen is you'll have the ape list and the crewman's list go for an hour, and then the public allow list will open. And so there will be a 24-hour period total, right, including the hour from before, where, and then 23 hours for the public allow list, where everybody in those groups will be able to mint the 2 per wallet allotment. And so that'll be once the public whitelist opens, it's first come first serve, because we actually have, I think we have something like 3,000 or more people on the public allow list right now. So once that opens, there's only 5,000 total that are going to be available for sale. And so once that opens, those 3,000 people will get to mint their 2 per wallet as well. And my guess is that we'll have more people by the time we mint, because the mint's a little less than a month away. So we'll be keeping that open. And so that'll be the 24-hour period. After that 24-hour period, if there are any additional, like if we haven't sold out, if it hasn't minted out in that time, that's when we'll open it up to the public. Once it's open to the public, there won't be any cap left on how many you can mint. And so if it's not sold out, the sale portion in the first 24 hours, you'll be able to go and pick up an extra 5 if you want to get 5 or 10 or whatever it might be. That'll be the opportunity. After that 24-hour period, once everyone who has had their ape list had a chance to mint, crewman's list had a chance to mint, and the public whitelist had a chance to mint. And so that'll be kind of that overflow period where if there is more available, people can pick up more, but only after we've gotten a pretty good distribution with other people minting. Because again, the goal here is really to bring people in the community. This isn't, and you'll see how we're kind of structuring this as we go forward. This isn't some like big revenue. We're not expecting this to be some massive revenue creating event. Every penny that we make on this is getting folded right back into the collection. Our goal here isn't to just make a big chunk of money and run away. Where any support that you guys give us by buying these avatars, I want you to know that that's just being folded into more artists, more devs, more resources, and making the game awesome. Because at the end of the day, I think that's what's going to make these things really cool and special, is the ecosystem that they're going to be part of. So from my perspective, the goal of even charging anything for these is really just to fold that money right back into the game and keep building. We've got a good amount of runway, but every penny in means someone else that we can hire, another awesome artist we can bring on, and just cooler stuff that we can do within the game. So that's kind of the sale portion. There's that first 24 hours, which is the allow list portion. Then there's the second 24 hours. That is the open portion, if there is anything left for that portion. During that portion, I know this pertains to a lot of you here. During that portion is that 24 hours of the public portion is when we're actually going to do the snapshot for the holders. So Legionnaire holders and holders of the different 8mo army collection pieces will have until that day, like during the mint, to have their pieces in their wallets, so that we can then snapshot and whitelist you for the free claim period, which will directly follow. So basically, I think the drop starts on a Monday. The Tuesday is the public portion. That's when we're going to do the snapshot. The Wednesday will begin the free claim period, and it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be into Saturday morning will be the free claim period, the 3-day period. And then that's it. Once the free claim period is done, we're cutting the collection. So that's actually something else that's really unique about the way we're doing this collection that I want to explain. But just to recap real quick, the important piece from that is that the snapshot for the free claim will be on that second day of the mint. And so then we're using what's called a Merkle tree to do the whitelisting, which is a new way that a lot of top projects have been using. I love it. Mige loves it. It really gives us some flexibility on how we can create allow lists up until the last minute and make sure that people who are holding aren't there's not like a big period between when they're holding and and when we actually do the mint. So we're going to literally do it essentially the day before. So you'll have all the way up until then to accumulate if you want to, or get your stuff, and then that next day you'll be able to claim your allotment of 8 Mo Army avatars with depending on how much you have. That day, so it'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Saturday morning, we close the collection. And what that means here is that there's essentially 5,000 pieces available on the. I'll answer your question real quick about Nifty Gateway because that's a good one. There's 5,000 pieces available on the for sale, and then there's going to be 5,000 pieces available to be claimed. It's unlikely that every single person who can claim will claim, and there's a small over allocation, but the way that we set up the collection is unique, and so I definitely want to talk through that a little bit. The way that we're doing this is similar to an open edition. So for those of you who know about open editions, who have seen open editions on Nifty Gateway for art. So we're obviously coming from the art background with Jose, and we've run tons of drops for Jose as open editions and worked with a lot of other artists who do open editions. We thought a lot about how open editions could be used in more of a collectible setting to try to manage some of the issues we've been seeing with supply really not lining up with demand. In this kind of weird market that we're in, right? Where you've got hype projects selling out, but then tanking. You've got great projects that aren't selling out. Our goal here isn't to define a sellout as 10,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000. Our goal is to make sure that anyone who wants to join the community and wants to, jump in and invest and buy the NFTs or claim the NFTs has an opportunity to do that we can expand the Satoshiverse with people who actually want to be here and get in and participate in our game economy through being a holder, and then go that step further of creating value and making sure that we're not putting a ton of supply onto the market when there's not demand, right? So we have to be prepared for that, especially in this kind of bear market. So what we did was this: we basically said the drop is from 9 a.m. on August 22nd. That time may change, but let's just say 9 a.m. 9 a.m. on August 22nd to 9 a.m. on August, I think it's 27th. Is that Saturday? Yeah, 27th is that Saturday. At 9 a.m. on August 27th, and again, that time may change, that collection's done. That's it. There's no, there's if 5,000 are minted, it's going to be capped and this is how we're going to do it. So open edition usually means you have a set amount of time, and whatever it is, it's capped at that time. What we're doing is a capped open edition, meaning let's say that there's a ton of demand and everybody wants an 8 Mo Army. We're not going to mint 20,000 of these things. So the maximum number that can be minted on the open editions is 10,000. But then the contract, the way we set up the contract, is such that we can actually reduce that. We can't go up, but we can reduce it to different, numbers. So what it basically will be is, let's say 5,200 are minted. We would reduce the max supply to 5,555. The 5,200 would go. The extra 325 or 35 would be minted into a holding wallet and into our vault wallet, and then we could use those in the future for giveaways and the different things that we do for the community. But the supply out would be the supply out. Let's say 6,000 were minted, it would be 6,666. If it's 7,000 were minted, yeah, quick math, and I think I botched it, so it's okay. Don't check me on that. Let's say 7,000 were minted. It would be 7,777, 8,888. And so the goal there is really just to pair supply with demand. I don't think, I'm surprised I haven't seen more projects do it, just because I think it's at least in this market, it's the right way of doing it. There's no reason to like put out extra supply if there's not people to buy it. We want you to feel like if you're there and you're buying, and you're getting something special, and that's it, right? Like that's the time, and you're gonna get those avatars, and it's gonna be capped. And so we're working with this method. I'll explain all this a little bit more. You can kind of read more about it on the website. There's a better explanation there. But we'll be answering questions if you have any. But we really think that this is the best. It's probably not the best model from like a revenue generation perspective for us, but to me it's the best model of putting the community's needs first, making sure that we are only putting out as many as the community is ready to take in. So that's that. That's that part of the model. I guess the vast majority of the ones that are sold are going to be sold through the different allow lists. So the mint price won't necessarily be the price that everyone pays. Right now, I think we're not going to be announcing the mint price today because of the state of the market. As you guys know, it's extremely volatile. We do have some targets in mind that we will be announcing shortly, but in the next, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, we will announce the exact mint price so everyone can prepare to the extent that they want. And yeah, I think that's the majority of the questions on the collection. I guess the only other thing is that once this is done, that same day so on Saturday, once we cut off the collection, we're going to have a big reveal party, and we're going to get the metadata uploaded. So these things will all be completed long in advance. So we'll have everything ready to go, so that as soon as the mint is done, you'll get to see your 8 Mil Army avatar. And so I'm excited to see. I've already started to see the tests, and super stoked at what these things are going to look like. I know with the Legionnaires, we did a ton of QCing on them, but I only got to see maybe 1,000 personally of the 5,555. And so I'm on OpenSea every once in a while, and I see a new one. I'm just like, oh my God, I love that one. Like, I want it. And sometimes I'll buy them, but for me, it's kind of this thing where I'm surprised every day. So I'm actually really excited just to see how all these things come out. I think that's one of the fun parts of doing generative in 3D, is that like even there's very little consistency even between things, because there's so many variables that can change, that like one texture may look different on one character than it does on a different one, and the hat might look different, and all these different things. So there's just so many variables that creates a lot of opportunity for other stuff. So what I'll do right now, I talked a lot. I'll take some questions. If you have any, drop them in the chat. I see one
Yeah,
question.
same here. If you have any art related questions, go ahead. I'm here as well.
Definitely. So let me see a couple questions. So the first question was, so holding a Nifty Gateway or OpenSea is all good. So here's the deal with that. The safest thing to do is to have it in a custodial wallet. That wallet is the wallet that is going to be whitelisted for the drop. That said, Nifty Gateway does have the option of setting up a wallet that is a connected wallet. We've used this in the past, and it's worked just fine. We are going to be using this for this collection, pending, we just need to get confirmation from Nifty Gateway that there's no issues at the time of the drop. But we're going to be asking, them, this is what our plan is, to use Nifty Gateway's connected wallet function to pull the connected wallets and give the allotments to those wallets. What that would mean, though, is that you have to use that wallet that you have connected to your Nifty Gateway account in order to do the mint of the 8 Mil Army avatars during the free claim, and then you should be you should be good. That said, we will make an announcement one way or the other in the next 2 weeks. Just we need to make sure, but that's the plan. Nifty Gateway does have that capability to snapshot connected wallets. Now, the one caveat there is that if you don't have a connected wallet, we won't be able to snapshot anything. So if you have it on Nifty Gateway and your wallet's not connected, either get that connected wallet set up or withdraw it to a custodial wallet just to make sure you're all good. Same goes if you've got it on a Vault wallet. That one, I don't think there's really a lot that we're going to be able to do. So if you have it on a hard wallet that you don't use for minting, we will announce the snapshot date. And my suggestion would be that you transfer it to a custodial wallet that you can use to mint for that snapshot, because we don't have a good way of pairing your hot wallet to your Vault. And we will need to. You won't actually need to do anything other than connect. You'll be connecting that hot wallet or whatever it is, your minting wallet, to the website, same as we did with the Legionnaires, and then you'll be minting from the website. You won't be able to mint from the smart contract on this one. So just this is gonna help us with preventing botting and whatnot. So we are we're going to be implementing everything through our website. Let's see. So hopefully that answers your question, but feel free to hit me in the chat if it doesn't. Dogecoin asked, I have a question about mint. If I mint, say, 10, will I get numbers in a row, i.e. 151, 152, 153, or will it be random numbers? The token IDs will be linear. And maybe I may be wrong. Miga's not on the chat, but he could correct me. I know he's listening, so he could correct me in the Discord if I get this wrong. But the token IDs should be linear, like they were with the Legionnaires. What will be random, likely, is the naming of the different characters. So similar to the Legionnaires, we're going to have the 5 different body types have their own names. You'll have the wolf number 1, wolf number 2, wolf number 3, bull 1, 2, 3, same thing. And so you'll have that that sort of naming. So the names won't directly match the token IDs, but there will be the way that the smart contract works. It should work exactly the same way the Legionnaires did, where if you mint a block, you'll get the block worth of token IDs. So MRTC Twitch, other Jose NFTs on Nifty Gateway that qualify. So but if by other you mean other than the Legionnaires, yes. So everything in the 8mo Army collection, in the 8mo collection. So the Genesis piece, I think Jose probably we've released something like 12 or 13, maybe even more 8mo pieces. All of them qualify. The trading card, When Worlds Collide, all of the Jose Delbo pieces that have Captain 8mo in it is, I think, the easiest way of describing it. I don't think any fall outside of that. The additional pieces that would qualify are the Genesis token from Satoshiverse that was on Nifty Gateway. That'll qualify. I think that's it.
I just added the webpage that has all the details here in the Twitch. So if you go and you scroll all the way down, you can see all the pieces that qualify.
And so if you go to our website, you'll see I just see 3 stars next to what Santi put, but so just if you go to our website, satoshiverse.io, and you go to the
I can't add webpage links, so sorry.
Just head over to 8mo Army, the 8mo Army tab on our website. There's a whole table at the bottom that tells you exactly what it will, what will translate. And
sorry for the swearing.
All right, let's see. I think that's all the questions I see right now. If anyone has any other questions, happy to answer them. Let me know. But we're excited. This is gonna be a really cool collection. I think it's a ton of work. Like Santi said, you've got 13 artists working on just the collection, and the game. I mean, they're bouncing back and forth, and we've got 30 something artists total working on this project. So a lot of talented people putting their, blood, sweat, and tears into this, and I think I'm hoping that
Not in equal proportions, mostly tears, but
mostly mostly Santi's tears. We're okay. So Miga confirmed token IDs will be linear, so that's good. Yeah, that's what I thought. The token ID will be linear. The naming conventions may not be. Some cool stuff. We're going to be working on, just to give you guys a little bit of how this is all progressing, and we can jump off because we've been on this for a while. But just we promised some alpha, so we'll give you some alpha. There's going to be some cool stuff with what's coming in the next couple months, and how these avatars are going to link into everything. My view, and we've talked a little bit about this on some of the Twitter spaces, but everyone hasn't been on there. So just recapping, there's a lot. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can do play and earn and player economies and whatnot. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of it goes to a project creating value and finding a way to give that value back to its holders as the project grows, right? And so I think that the ethos here is that by owning a Legionnaire, by owning an avatar, you are going to be the holders of the value in the in-game economy. At least the way we're designing the player economy is going to be structured not only that you can use these characters, but that owning the characters will give you distinct advantages both within the game from an earning perspective and outside of the game from a passive earning perspective. And so in the next several weeks, hopefully, our goal is to get this out before we release the actual collection. We're going to try to give you a lot more insight on exactly how that's going to work. Almost like a light paper for the game. It's going to be more of a preview website, but that'll have some details as to exactly how this factors in, so that you guys can really understand where this is all going. I saw the question about promo stuff, stickers, art to pass around. Yes, we're definitely. So we just released our 8-Mo Army trailer, which is the one we started with. We'll get that into the server in a way that you guys can download it. The pictures, the posters are good assets, but I honestly can't wait to just show you guys what these avatars are going to look like, because I think that's when it's going to click that this is a cool collection, and it's something you're going to want. They're going to be different than the Legionnaires. I'll say that we've gone with a simple but still refined approach, whereas we learned some lessons both in the capabilities of platforms like OpenSea and others that have struggled with our super high fidelity Legionnaires. Yep. But we've found ways to keep the fidelity and the look super high without complicating the files too much, so that
we took everything that we learned from the Legionnaires and basically everything good and bad that we learned from the Legionnaires and made it better in this collection. I think better in other senses. It's not that the other collection is fantastic as well, but I think this one is super special.
Yeah, I think that this collection, one of the major differences is that the Legionnaires, obviously we spent tons of time making these awesome backgrounds with the legions and the cities, because that was such an important part of the backstory for the Legionnaires. And so we really wanted to do something unique with the backgrounds in the cities, right? Like I said, these avatars have a different origin story, and a story that'll come to light in the very near future. That places more of a focus on the avatar than where they come from. And so that's all I'll say. I don't want to spoil anything, but the collection too will place more of a focus on the avatar than on the backstory behind them. All right, so we will I think this is a good point to cut it off, unless anyone has any additional questions. I'll give you a minute or two to ask them, and then we will say so long for now. We've got a ton of stuff coming up. We've got new 100 members that we're going to be announcing in the next couple weeks. That's going to be cool. Some cool names. Jose's got a drop coming up that we're going to be announcing. So really cool stuff. Oh, and then we have one other little thing. I'll tease it, but I'm not going to announce it. We're actually doing a leading up to the collection. We are going to be doing a very special collectibles drop, small, different, very different than anything we've ever done, but with the goal of bringing in another partner community that we've been working with. And I think you guys are really going to like these. I think they look awesome, and they're so unique. This is going to be, cheap, like really cool stuff. We want you guys to be able to get these things and collect as many as you want or not. But the goal here is going to be to bring in some new collectors into the community right before we launch the collection, kind of like what we did with the Binance drop back before our last collection. Release some really cool collectibles that feature the assets and get people excited. But I think you guys are going to really like these as well, because they're totally different than anything we've released before, and I think I love them. So hopefully you guys like them as much as we do, and then we're gonna kick ass for the next 3 weeks and hopefully release this collection and see all your jaws dropping, hopefully, when you see what these things look like. So yeah, that's it. I don't see any more questions. Keep an eye on our Twitter tomorrow for announcement. We're going to be announcing the thing I was just teasing before, and then everything's going to happen real fast for the next month. So prepare to see collaborations and everything else. But really great talking to all of you. Thanks, Josh, for being the behind the scenes video MC. And thank you, Santi, for getting into the details of the collection. And thank you, everyone else, for joining. Really great to have all of you here, and looking forward to talking to all of you in the Discord.